Hello, and welcome to Steph Udall. I am, exhaustedly, Steph. This doll was originally meant to be part of the Autumn Court collab hosted by Vanderallcraft over on Instagram. You may recall that I've made 2 other dolls in previous seasonal court collabs, with Borealis being made for winter and Frey for summer. I ended up missing spring this year, so I was determined to take part in the autumn one. However, life happened, as it is wont to do. I found myself pretty burnt out, and along with other life stuff, it's been pretty hard going. But she's finally done, so let's get to it. I'll be making a hybrid I've been wanting to try for a long time, using a BTS head on a DC superhero girl's body. I had the idea of making Borealis an older, more reserved sister, so that's what I'm going to do. I start by removing the heads from both dolls. Then I do the usual prep with the BTS head, cutting the hair off, removing the rest from the inside of the head, and wiping off the factory face with acetone. The faces are very hard to remove from these dolls, so you really need to scrub at them. Just be careful not to scratch the vinyl with your fingernails. I have been there before. As Borealis has horns, she too needs horns. I made them out of cosclay. I cut the heads off a couple of pins and insert them into the bottom of the horns before baking. It took several tries to get them in a shape I liked. I ended up wrapping them around a bamboo skewer to get a nice spiral twist shape. After baking, I can remove the pins and glue them in permanently with super glue. I give the horns a base coat of black acrylic paint. Then I paint them bronze. I ended up adding more black towards the base and some gold at the tips, giving them a gradient effect. After a couple of coats of gloss varnish, the horns are all done. I wasn't sure at this point what neckline her dress would have, so I decided to paint the upper torso of the doll to try and match it more closely to the head. In the end, this was an entirely unnecessary step, but I'll show you the process anyway in case you might find it helpful. I cut a small piece of makeup sponge and used that to apply very thin layers of paint. I'm using model paint from Vallejo here. I let each layer dry completely before adding a new one. I keep adding layers until the color is opaque. After letting it fully cure for a few days, I brushed on a coat of matte varnish. And finally, to protect the paint a bit more around the neck joint, I paint on a thin layer of super glue. I heated up the head with my hairdryer to soften the vinyl and put it on its new body, praying that the neck peg would play nice with it. And it did! Thank goodness! She needs some pointy ears to match her brother's, so I get out the apoxie sculpt and mix equal parts A and B together and start sculpting. It took me at least 3 or 4 tries to get near a shape I liked. I let the clay cure overnight. The next day I sanded everything to try and make the transition from clay to vinyl as smooth as possible. Then I painted them using the same technique I used to paint the torso. It's time for the face-up. I gave her a couple of coats of Mr. Super Clear UV Cut Flat, waiting 30 minutes in between each layer. Then I get to work, starting, as always, with the eyes. I sketch out the shape with a yellow ochre watercolor pencil, following the mold closely. She's going to have dark brown, almost black scleras and bright metallic irises, similar to her brother. I use chalk pastel to blush and contour her face. And on every single layer, I add both gold and rose gold PearlEx powder. I find that layering it up in this way can give the illusion of dewy skin. Whenever I want to save my progress or I can't build any more color, I spray on another coat of MSC. I took a lot of inspiration from a very particular type of BJD face-up. Those ones with a lot of warm brown tones and dark shading around the eyes. I think I was able to capture the essence of that for this face-up. She's going to have very light blonde hair, so I gave her a cream lash line and lower lashes. A speck of dust got trapped under one of the layers of MSC, so I decided to give her a beauty mark to cover it up. After adding catch lights and a final dusting of PearlEx powders, the face-up is done. My friend Eric over at the Hatter Dolls posted a tutorial a while back showing how to transform these stiff BTS hands to make them more expressive. I'll link his video below and in the end card. It's pretty simple actually. First, carefully cut the fingers apart slowly with a fresh blade, making several passes on both sides of the hand. I'm going for a Monster High, Ever After High sort of look here, so I'm just separating the pinky and the pointer finger, leaving the middle two fingers attached. Also, be very careful. I stabbed myself in the finger while doing this. Don't be like me. Now, we need 2 mugs of water. One is freshly boiled water from my kettle, and the other is ice water. Do you like my color coding? I thought I was very clever. Put the hands in the hot water and leave them there for about a minute or so. Remove a hand from the water with tweezers so you don't burn yourself. Then you can mold the hand into a new pose. Once you're done, toss the hand into the ice water and let it sit for another minute. Repeat with the other hand. Then remove them from the ice water, dry them off, and use a craft blade to clean up any rough edges. I sprayed the hands with MSC and blushed them with the same colors I used for her face. For her hair, I decided to use the same yarn I used for my Trixie Mattel doll, except instead of brushing it out, I wanted to just unravel it and glue on individual strands for more texture and to retain length. This nearly did my head in. The first rows I did with Mod Podge like I normally use for hair, although usually I make wefts, but I was having a hard time getting it to stick. Then I used Oohoo all-purpose glue. That was a mess too. I ended up having to carve off excess glue from the head. I made wefts for the part and just fought my way through the rest, and eventually it turned out okay. Her head was covered, and that was what I needed. Her head was covered, and it was done. And here's where we are right now. I'll be right back after I cut and style it and secure her horns in place. And here we are. I decided to add a couple of ribbon roses and used an eyebrow razor to trim the yarn to make it look a little more natural. I didn't have any shoes that would fit this doll in my stock box, so I had to make some. I decided to try my hand at worbla shoes, and they turned out fine. I ended up covering the worbla with some faux leather fabric and painting them brown and bronze. I sealed them with a couple of coats of matte Mod Podge. I had these earrings that I got from a charity shop a while back that I thought would look good as decorations on the shoes, so I cut off the posts, sanded down the rough edges left on the back, and used hot glue to attach them to the shoes. As I was being kind to myself, and the thought of filming the process filled me with absolute dread, I ended up sewing her entire dress off camera, but I'll take you through what I did. I made it by combining two different Requiem Art Designs patterns and making my own alterations. This dress is actually two dresses. The underdress combines the sleeveless blouse from the high fashion pattern and skirt from the Regency dress pattern. I shortened the blouse length to accommodate the empire waistline of the skirt, but made it so it's a bit longer than the bodice of the overdress to help keep it from being too bulky. I added embroidery and beading around the hem. The stitch pattern I use here and for the border of the overdress I learned from a YouTube video, which I will link in the description below. I must say, embroidery YouTube, very, very chill. The overdress is made mostly with the Regency dress pattern, using the skirt with the train, but also raising the hemline in the front to show off the underdress. I added longer sleeves with a ruffled cuff. And I also created this decorative apron-like piece, which I also hand embroidered and beaded, which was pretty relaxing, honestly. I really enjoyed working on it. There's embroidery and beading along the hem too, as well as on the puff sleeves. The final part is this massive bow, which attaches to the back of the dress with snaps. I added a ribbon rose to the center to match the ones in her hair. So, we have her outfit, we have her shoes, and the doll herself. Oh, I also made some stockings off camera because her shoes were actually a hair too big. But now all that's left to do is get her dressed. And she's done. I wanted to give her a name that would complement Borealis's. And in my search, I stumbled upon the name Aurelia, which means golden. And I think it suits her perfectly. I have been struggle bussing my way through this custom. through day-to-day life even. And it's been really hard. I nearly cried when I saw her all put together for the first time. Because I did it. Despite everything, I made this beautiful thing. And now I get to share her with you all. And that's fantastic. I hope you all have a nice holiday season. But if you're having a hard time, like me, I hope you can be kind to yourself and make some time to do something you enjoy and find comfort in. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to see more from me, and click the bell icon to get notified every time I post a new video. All of my socials will be linked down below. As always, I'm most active on Instagram. And if you really like what I do and you want to buy me a festive coffee, a link to my Ko-fi tip jar will be down there too. And until next time, bye!